Crash landing. The stars streaked past like luminous ribbons as Jack Hawthorne guided his battered freighter through the inky void of space. His calloused hands gripped the controls, knuckles white with tension. The ship groaned and shuddered, a worrying vibration rattling through the hull. "Come on, old girl," Jack muttered, his eyes darting between the flickering instrument panels. "Just hold together a little longer." Jack was no stranger to flying by the seat of his pants. As a freelance mechanic, he'd spent years hopping from spaceport to spaceport, fixing anything with an engine and scrounging for whatever work he could find. But this time he'd pushed his luck too far. The ship's proximity alarm blared to life, its shrill wail cutting through the ambient hum of the engines. Jack's heart raced as he saw the rapidly approaching planet on his view screen. It was an unremarkable brown orb, its surface a patchwork of dusty plains and jagged mountain ranges. "Unidentified planet," the ship's AI intoned, its voice unnervingly calm. "Atmosphere, breathable. Gravity, 1.2 standard. Warning, uncontrolled descent imminent." Jack's mind raced. He had two choices: try to break orbit and limp to the nearest space station, or attempt a risky landing on this unknown world. The decision was made for him as the port engine sputtered and died, sending the ship into a wild spin. "Guess we're going with option 2, Jack growled, fighting the controls to stabilize the craft. He engaged the emergency landing thrusters, gritting his teeth as G-forces pressed him back into his seat. The ship plummeted through the atmosphere, the hull glowing red-hot from the friction. The ground rushed up to meet him, a sea of ochre dust and wind-carved rock formations. Jack's hands flew over the controls, coaxing every last ounce of power from the failing systems. At the last moment, he managed to level out, skimming the surface before the ship slammed into the ground with bone-jarring force. Metal screamed and tore as the freighter carved a deep furrow in the alien soil. Jack's head whipped forward, smashing against the control panel. Stars exploded behind his eyes, and then darkness claimed him. When Jack regained consciousness, the first thing he noticed was the acrid smell of burning electronics. He groaned, giddily touching the lump forming on his forehead. His vision swam as he looked around the cockpit. Emergency lights bathed everything in an eerie red glow, and sparks danced from ruptured conduits. "Status report," Jack croaked, his throat dry and raw. "Hull integrity, 62%. Life support, operational. Engines, offline. Communications, offline." The A's voice crackled through damaged speakers. "Recommendation, evacuate immediately." Jack unbuckled himself, wincing at the pain that lanced through his ribs. He stumbled to the rear of the ship, pausing only to grab his emergency kit. A collection of basic tools, medical supplies, and survival gear he'd assembled over years of close calls. The airlock hissed open, and Jack stepped out onto alien soil for the first time. The landscape that greeted him was as desolate as it had appeared from orbit. Rust-colored dust stretched to the horizon, broken only by towering mesas and wind-carved spires of rock. Two suns hung in the sky, one large and orange, the other a smaller, distant blue orb. Jack took a deep breath, relieved to find the air breathable, if a bit thin. He turned to survey the damage to his ship and let out a low whistle. The freighter was a wreck, its hull crumpled and scorched. Coolant leaked from ruptured lines, sizzling as it hit the hot ground. "Well, this is a fine mess you've gotten yourself into, Hawthorne," he muttered, running a hand through his sweat-matted hair. As Jack circled the ship, assessing the damage, a glint of metal caught his eye. He squinted, shielding his eyes from the harsh sunlight. There, half buried in the dust about 100 meters away, was another crashed ship. Hope surged through him. Maybe there were other survivors, or at least salvageable parts he could use to repair his own vessel. Jack set off towards the wreckage, his boots kicking up small clouds of dust with each step. As he drew closer, Jack realized this ship was unlike anything he'd ever seen before. Its sleek, organic lines reminded him more of a sea creature than a spacecraft. The hull was made of some iridescent material that seemed to shift colors as he approached. "Hello," Jack called out, his voice sounding small in the vast emptiness. "Anyone there? I'm here to help." There was no response, but as Jack circled the alien craft, he noticed a tear in the hull, an opening large enough for him to squeeze through. He hesitated for a moment, weighing the risks, but curiosity and the hope of finding aid won out. Jack activated the flashlight on his multi-tool and ducked into the ship. The interior was just as strange as the outside, with smooth, flowing surfaces that seemed to glow faintly. As his eyes adjusted to the dimness, he noticed something that made his breath catch in his throat. Two figures lay slumped in what appeared to be the cockpit. They were undeniably alien, yet hauntingly beautiful. The first had skin the color of polished silver, with long flowing hair that seemed to ripple like water even in the still air. The other was shorter, stockier, with deep blue skin and ridges along her arms and face. Jack approached cautiously, his heart pounding. "Hey," he said softly, reaching out to touch the silver-skinned alien's shoulder. "Can you hear me?" The alien's eyes snapped open, revealing pupils of swirling galaxies. She recoiled from Jack's touch, hissing something in a language he couldn't understand. The blue-skinned alien stirred as well, her hand instinctively reaching for what looked like a weapon at her hip. Jack raised his hands, palms out. "Whoa, easy there. I'm not here to hurt you. My ship crashed too. I'm just looking for help." The silver-skinned alien tilted her head, studying Jack intently. After a moment, she spoke again, this time in halting English. "You, human?" Jack nodded, relief washing over him. "Yeah, that's right. My name's Jack Hawthorne. What about you two? Are you okay?" The silver alien exchanged a glance with her companion before answering. "I am Zara of the Drukhari. This is Lyra of the Moxatu. We, stranded. Many cycles." Jack's mind reeled. He'd heard rumors of the Drukhari and Moxatu, advanced alien civilizations from the far reaches of the galaxy. But to actually meet them, here on this desolate world, it was almost too much to process. "Well," Jack said, forcing a smile, "looks like we're all in the same boat now. Or shall I say, the same planet. What do you say we help each other out?" Zara and Lyra exchanged another look, seeming to communicate silently. Finally, Lyra nodded, her deep voice rumbling as she spoke for the first time. "Agreed. But watch yourself, human. We do not trust easily." As Jack helped the two aliens out of their crashed ship, his mind was already racing with possibilities. Between his mechanical skills and their advanced knowledge, maybe they had a chance of getting off this rock after all. But first, they'd need to survive the immediate dangers, whatever they might be, on this alien world. Little did Jack know, this chance encounter would be the beginning of an adventure beyond his wildest dreams, one that would test the limits of human ingenuity and change the course of galactic history forever. The trio made their way back to Jack's crash site, the alien suns beating down mercilessly. As they walked, Jack couldn't help but marvel at his new companions. Zara moved with an otherworldly grace, her silver skin shimmering in the harsh light. Lyra, by contrast, had a warrior's stride, her eyes constantly scanning the horizon for potential threats. "So," Jack said, breaking the tense silence, "how long have you two been stuck here?" Zara's brow furrowed as she calculated. "By your Earth measurements, perhaps 3 years. Time moves strangely here." Jack whistled low. 3 years. How have you survived?" Lyra grunted, her hand never straying far from her weapon. "We adapt. We endure. It is the way of the Moxatu." As they approached Jack's ship, Zara's eyes widened. "Primitive," she murmured, "but impressive that it made the journey at all." Jack felt a twinge of pride mixed with irritation. "Hey, she may not look like much, but she's gotten me out of plenty of tight spots. Or into them, I guess," he added ruefully, eyeing the wreckage. Lyra circled the ship, her expert gaze assessing the damage. "The hull can be patched," she said, But your propulsion system is beyond repair with the materials at hand. Jack's heart sank. So we're still stuck here. Zara placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, her touch sending an odd tingling sensation through his body. Perhaps not. Our ship's engine core is still intact. With your mechanical skills and our knowledge, we may yet find a way to combine our technologies. Hope flickered in Jack's chest. Now that's what I like to hear. But first things first, we need shelter, water, and food. Any ideas? Lyra pointed to a distant outcropping of rocks. There are caves in those cliffs, defensible, near a spring of drinkable water. Jack nodded, impressed. Lead the way, but let me grab some supplies first. As he rummaged through his ship, salvaging what he could, Jack's mind whirled with questions. How had these two ended up here? What other dangers lurked on this alien world? And most importantly, could they really find a way off this planet together? One thing was certain, Jack Hawthorne's life would never be the same again. As he stepped back out into the alien sunlight, tools in hand, he felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he was ready to face them. After all, he was a human, and if there's one thing humans do better than anyone else in the galaxy, it's beating the odds. Quantum bonds and xenobiological challenges. As the trio trekked towards the distant caves, the alien landscape seemed to shift and warp under the light of the twin suns. Jack wiped sweat from his brow, his eyes constantly darting between his newfound companions and the strange rock formations that surrounded them. So, Jack began, breaking the tense silence, I've got to ask, how did two advanced aliens like yourselves end up stranded on this cosmic dust ball? Zora's silver skin rippled, a sign Jack was beginning to recognize as discomfort. We were explorers, seeking to map quantum rifts in this sector of the galaxy. Lyra snorted, her blue ridges flaring. Explorers? We were fugitives, Zora. No point in hiding it now. Jack raised an eyebrow. Fugitives? Now that's interesting. What you do, steal the Emperor's favorite moon? Zora shot Lyra a reproachful look before turning to Jack. Our peoples, the Drakari and Mox-2, have been at war for millennia. Lyra and we discovered a terrible weapon, one that could obliterate entire star systems. Let me guess, Jack interjected, you decided to destroy it instead of handing it over. Lyra nodded grimly. We sabotaged the project and fled, but our ship was damaged in the escape. We crashed here, in a place where neither of our peoples would think to look. Jack whistled low. Talk about star-crossed lovers. So you two are bonded, Zora finished, her galaxy eyes swirling with emotion, in ways your human mind might struggle to comprehend. As they approached the caves, a low, rumbling growl echoed across the barren plain. Jack froze, his hand instinctively reaching for a weapon he didn't have. Please tell me that's just this planet's version of a friendly hello. Lyra's stance shifted, her body coiled like a spring. Devourer, she hissed. We must move, now. They broke into a run, Jack's lungs burning as he struggled to keep up with the alien's superior speed and endurance. The growl grew louder, accompanied by the sound of massive limbs thudding against the ground. Just as they reached the mouth of the nearest cave, Jack risked a glance over his shoulder. His blood ran cold. Charging towards them was a monstrosity that defied description. It was like someone had taken an earth grizzly bear, scaled it up to the size of a house, and then decided to add about a dozen extra limbs and eyes for good measure. Its maw gaped wide, revealing row upon row of wickedly sharp teeth. Inside, Zora shouted, pulling Jack into the cave as Lyra took up a defensive position at the entrance. The devourer slammed into the cliff face, its roar of frustration shaking loose a shower of rocks and dust. Lyra raised her weapon, a sleek alien pistol that hummed with energy, and fired. A bolt of crackling blue light struck the creature's face, causing it to recoil with a shriek of pain. That won't hold it for long, Lyra growled, backing further into the cave. We need a plan. Jack's mind raced. He was a mechanic, not a xenobiologist or a soldier. But if there's one thing humans excel at, it's improvising in the face of certain doom. The cave system, he said, an idea forming. How extensive is it? Zara's eyes unfocused for a moment, as if accessing some internal database. Complex. Miles of tunnels, some barely large enough for us to squeeze through. Perfect, Jack grinned. That thing's too big to follow us deeper in. We can lose it in the maze. As if on cue, the Devourer slammed into the cliff again, this time cracking the rock around the cave entrance. Move! Lyra shouted, herding them deeper into the darkness. They sprinted through twisting tunnels, the roars of the Devourer growing fainter as they put distance between themselves and the entrance. Jack's chest heaved, his legs burning with exertion. Just when he thought he couldn't take another step, Zara pulled him into a small alcove. "We can rest here," she whispered. "The creature cannot reach us." As they caught their breath, Jack took stock of their situation. They were alive, but trapped in an alien cave system with limited supplies and a monster lurking outside. Not exactly an improvement. "So," he panted, "any other charming local wildlife I should know about?" Lyra's expression was grim. The Devourer is but one of many dangers on this world. There are creatures that burrow through solid rock, parasites that can take control of your mind, and plants whose pollen can induce hallucinations strong enough to make you walk off a cliff. "Fantastic," Jack muttered. "And here I was worried this might be too easy." Zara placed a hand on his arm, her touch sending that strange tingling sensation through him again. "Do not despair, Jack. Your species has a reputation for resourcefulness. Perhaps together we can find a way to overcome these challenges." As Jack looked between his two alien companions, a strange warmth blossomed in his chest. Despite the dire circumstances, he felt a sense of purpose he hadn't experienced in years. Here he was, a simple human mechanic, thrust into an adventure beyond his wildest dreams. "All right," he said, a determined grin spreading across his face. "Let's take stock of what we've got and figure out our next move. Between your advanced alien know-how and good old-fashioned human ingenuity, I'd say we've got a fighting chance." Little did Jack know, their unlikely alliance was about to be tested in ways none of them could have imagined. As they delved deeper into the cave system, they would uncover secrets that would shake the foundations of the galaxy itself. The cave walls seemed to pulse with an eerie bioluminescence, casting everything in a soft, otherworldly glow. As they moved deeper into the tunnels, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. "So," he said, trying to keep his voice steady, "any idea what's causing that light show?" Zara ran her hand along the wall, her silver skin taking on a faint blue tinge. "Fascinating. It appears to be a form of quantum-entangled bacteria. They're reacting to our presence, possibly our very thoughts." Jack blinked. "Quantum-entangled bacteria, that's a thing." Lyra grunted, her eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. "This planet is unlike any we've encountered. The laws of physics seem flexible here." As if to punctuate her point, a small rock suddenly floated past them, defying gravity. Jack reached out to touch it, but Zara quickly grabbed his wrist. "Careful," she warned. "The quantum fluctuations are unpredictable. That rock could suddenly become dense enough to crush your hand, or phase out of existence entirely, taking your fingers with it." Jack quickly withdrew his hand. "Right. No touching the floaty rocks. Got it." As they pressed on, the tunnel opened into a vast underground cavern. Jack's jaw dropped. Suspended in the air were islands of rock, each one teeming with alien plant life. Streams of water flowed upwards, forming impossible waterfalls that seemed to defy all logic. "Okay," Jack breathed. "Now that's not something you see every day." Zora's eyes were wide with wonder. A pocket dimension, perhaps, or a nexus point where multiple realities converge. Lyra, ever practical, was already assessing the cavern for threats and resources. "Those plants," she said, pointing to a cluster of bulbous, pulsating pods. They're edible, nutritious even. We can replenish our supplies here. As they made their way to the nearest floating island, Jack's mind was reeling. He'd thought he was prepared for anything space could throw at him, but this was beyond his wildest imagination. "So," he said, trying to process it all, "you two have been surviving in this funhouse for 3 years. How have you not gone completely bonkers?" Zara and Lyra exchanged a look, a silent communication passing between them. Finally, Zara spoke. "We adapted. Our bodies, our minds, they've changed in ways we don't fully understand." Jack frowned. "Changed? How so?" Lyra flexed her hand, and to Jack's astonishment, it briefly phased out of existence before reappearing. "We've become attuned to the quantum fluctuations. We can manipulate them to a degree." "That's... wow," Jack stammered. "And here I thought I was special because I could fix a hyperdrive with duct tape and a paperclip." Zara laughed, a sound like tinkling crystals. "Do not sell yourself short, Jack. Your human adaptability may prove to be our greatest asset." As they gathered supplies, Jack's mind was racing with possibilities. If Zara and Lyra had developed these abilities, what might happen to him the longer he stayed on this planet? And more importantly, could they use these quantum quirks to their advantage? Suddenly, a tremor shook the cavern. Rocks began to fall from the ceiling, and the floating islands started to drift erratically. "What's happening?" Jack shouted over the rumbling. Lyra's expression was grim. "The Devourer. It must have found another way in. We need to move." As they scrambled to escape the collapsing cavern, Jack's heart pounded in his chest. They were trapped in an impossible place, pursued by a nightmarish creature, with only their wits and each other to rely on. But as he looked at Zara and Lyra, he felt a surge of determination. They were going to survive this. They were going to find a way off this crazy planet. And maybe, just maybe, they'd uncover some universe-shaking secrets along the way. Little did Jack know the true nature of the planet, and his role in a cosmic game beyond his comprehension was about to be revealed. The adventure was only just beginning, and the fate of entire galaxies hung in the balance. Quantum enigma and the cosmic chessboard. As the cavern crumbled around them, Jack, Zara, and Lyra raced through a maze of shifting tunnels. Reality itself seemed to warp and bend, corridors appearing and disappearing in the blink of an eye. "This way," Zara shouted, her silver skin pulsing with an otherworldly light. She reached out, her fingers seeming to tear a hole in the fabric of space itself. Without hesitation, Jack dove through the rift, followed closely by Lyra. They tumbled onto a crystalline surface, gasping for breath as the portal snapped shut behind them. "Okay," Jack panted, his mind reeling. That was new. "Since when can you create wormholes?" Zara looked equally shocked. I'm not sure. It just happened instinctively." Lyra helped them to their feet, her blue ridges flaring with concern. "This planet is changing us faster than we realized. We need answers." As Jack took in their new surroundings, his jaw dropped. They stood on a vast platform of shimmering crystal, suspended in what appeared to be the heart of a nebula. Swirling clouds of stardust and newborn stars stretched as far as the eye could see. "Where are we?" he whispered, awe overwhelming his fear. "The cosmic nexus," a booming voice answered, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. A figure materialized before them, its form constantly shifting between different alien species and abstract geometric shapes. Jack's mind struggled to comprehend what he was seeing. "Welcome, players," the entity said, its voice resonating on a subatomic level. "You have reached the control room of reality itself." Zara stepped forward, her galaxy eyes wide with recognition. "The architects," she breathed. "The mythical shapers of the universe. You're real." The entity, the architect, seemed to smile, though it had no discernible face. "Indeed, young Drakari, and you three have unwittingly become pawns in a game that spans millennia and dimensions." Lyra growled, her hand instinctively reaching for her weapon. "We are no one's pawns." "Oh, but you are," the architect replied, waving a hand. Suddenly, a massive holographic chessboard appeared, with pieces representing countless alien races. "The universe is our playground, and all sentient beings are pieces in our grand experiment." Jack's mind raced, trying to process the implications. "So, what? Our entire lives have just been some cosmic game to you?" The architect's form rippled with what might have been amusement. "Not just a game, human. A test. A crucible to forge the next generation of universal architects." Zara gasped. "The planet. The quantum anomalies. It was all designed by you." "Precisely," the architect confirmed. "A proving ground to find beings capable of manipulating the very fabric of reality. And you three have shown promise." Jack felt a mixture of anger and curiosity bubbling up inside him. "So what happens now? Do we get a prize? A cosmic decoder ring, perhaps?" The architect's form solidified into something vaguely humanoid. "Now, you face a choice. You can return to your lives, your memories of this place erased. Or what?" Lyra demanded. "Or you can ascend, become like us, shapers of reality, guardians of the cosmic balance." The offer hung in the air, heavy with possibility and danger. Jack looked at Zara and Lyra, seeing the conflict in their eyes that surely mirrored his own. "What's the catch?" he asked, narrowing his eyes at the architect. "There's always a catch." The entity's form shimmered. "Perceptive, human. The catch, as you put it, is this: to ascend, you must first return to your planet and face a final test. One that will push you to your very limits and beyond." Zara stepped forward, her voice steady despite the enormity of the situation. "And if we refuse?" The architect's tone grew cold. "Then the experiment ends. Your planet, and all the sentient life upon it, will be erased from existence. A failed iteration in the cosmic algorithm." Jack felt the weight of billions of lives suddenly resting on his shoulders. He was just a mechanic, for crying out loud. How had he ended up responsible for the fate of entire worlds? But as he looked at Zara and Lyra, he saw determination in their eyes. They had already risked everything to save their peoples once. This was just on a slightly larger scale. "All right, Cosmic Chessmaster," Jack said, squaring his shoulders. "We'll play your game. But when we win, and we will win, you'd better be ready to answer for all the lives you've toyed with." The architect's form seemed to smile again. "Bold words, human. We shall see if you can back them up." With a wave of its hand, reality began to blur around them. Jack reached out, grasping Zara and Lyra's hands as the cosmic nexus faded away. "Whatever happens," he shouted over the roar of collapsing dimensions, "we're in this together." As they hurtled back towards their quantum-twisted planet, Jack's mind raced with possibilities. They had the power to reshape reality itself at their fingertips. Now they just had to figure out how to use it to save everything they'd ever known. The game was afoot, and the stakes couldn't be higher. But if there's one thing humans excel at, it's defying the odds. And with his newfound alien allies by his side, Jack was ready to show these cosmic architects what real ingenuity looked like. Little did the architects know, they had just set in motion events that would reshape the very foundations of the universe. The unlikely trio of a human mechanic and two alien fugitives were about to embark on an adventure that would make gods tremble and rewrite the laws of reality itself. As they plummeted back towards their quantum-entangled planet, Jack, Zara, and Lyra felt the fabric of space-time warping around them. Colors shifted and blended, impossible geometries flashed in and out of existence, and for a moment, Jack swore he could see the very strings that held the universe together. Then, with a thunderous crack, they materialized back in the cavern where their journey had begun, but everything had changed. The cave walls pulsed with ethereal energy, equations and formulas etched into the very rock. The air crackled with potential, as if reality itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what they would do next. Well, Jack said, brushing himself off, that was one hell of a trip. Everyone still has all their limbs. No one accidentally left their consciousness in another dimension. Zara flexed her fingers, silver skin rippling with newfound power. We are intact, Jack, but I fear we are not the same as we were before. Lara nodded grimly, her blue ridges now glowing faintly. The architect's touch has changed us. We are conduits now, channels for the very energy that shapes the cosmos. Jack looked down at his hands, noticing for the first time the faint lines of light tracing his veins. Great, so we're talking reality remotes. Any idea how we actually use these new cosmic powers? Before either alien could respond, a familiar roar echoed through the cavern. The Devourer was still out there, and it sounded angrier than ever. Looks like we're about to find out, Lara growled, dropping into a fighting stance. As the monstrous creature burst into view, its dozens of eyes blazing with hunger, Jack felt a surge of energy course through him. Without thinking, he thrust out his hand, and to his amazement, a shimmering barrier of pure force sprang into existence between them and the beast. The Devourer slammed into the barrier, howling in frustration. Cracks appeared in the energy field, spreading rapidly. I don't think I can hold it much longer, Jack shouted, sweat beading on his brow. Zara stepped forward, her galaxy eyes swirling with determination. She placed her hand on Jack's shoulder, and suddenly, the barrier solidified, taking on a crystalline appearance. Lara joined them, adding her own power to the mix. The barrier began to pulse, pushing back against the Devourer with increasing force. Together, Zara said, her voice resonating with newfound authority, we must reshape this reality, bend it to our will. Jack closed his eyes, focusing on the energy flowing through him. He thought of home, of Earth, of all the people counting on them to succeed. Suddenly, he could see the quantum strings that held this pocket of reality together. There, he shouted, the weak point in the dimensional barrier. If we can destabilize it. Lara caught on immediately. We can shunt this abomination into another reality entirely. As one, they focused their combined power on the spot Jack had identified. The air itself seemed to tear, a swirling vortex of cosmic energy opening behind the Devourer. The creature rolled in confusion as it was pulled inexorably towards the rift. It clawed at the ground, its many limbs leaving deep gouges in the stone, but it was no use. With a final, ear-splitting shriek, the Devourer was sucked into the portal, which snapped shut behind it. The trio collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. The cave fell silent, save for the faint hum of residual energy. Did we just do that? Jack panted, staring at his hands in disbelief. Zara nodded, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. It would seem, Jack Hawthorne, that you have a natural talent for quantum manipulation. Lara clapped him on the back, nearly knocking him over. Not bad for a primitive human mechanic. As the reality of their newfound powers sank in, Jack's mind raced with possibilities. They have reshaped local space-time, banished an apex predator to another dimension, and come out the other side alive. But this was just the beginning. So, he said, pushing himself to his feet, we've got cosmic superpowers and a planet-sized test to pass. Any ideas on where to start? Zara's eyes unfocused for a moment, as if she were peering into multiple realities at once. The architects spoke of a final test. I believe we must heal this world, restore the balance that our arrival disrupted. Lara nodded in agreement. The quantum fluctuations, the hostile wildlife, the very instability of this reality, it's all connected. We didn't just crash here by accident. We were drawn here. Jack ran a hand through his hair, still trying to wrap his mind around the scope of their task. So we're supposed to play cosmic janitors, clean up a mess we didn't even know we made. Fantastic. But even as he grumbled, Jack felt a surge of excitement. This was the ultimate engineering challenge, a chance to fix not just a broken engine, but a broken reality. All right, he said, a determined grin spreading across his face. Let's do this. First step, figure out what the hell we actually did to this planet. Second step, undo it. Third step, maybe reshape the universe a little bit, just for fun. As they set out to explore their transformed world, Jack couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. Here he was, a simple human mechanic, about to embark on a quest to rewrite the laws of physics alongside two alien fugitives turned cosmic conduits. Little did they know, their actions were sending ripples across the multiverse. In distant galaxies, ancient prophecies were coming to life. In the space between dimensions, eldritch horrors stirred from eons-long slumber. And in the grand cosmic chessboard, the architects watched with growing interest as their pawns began to move in ways they had never anticipated. The game had changed, and the fate of all reality hung in the balance. But for Jack, Zara, and Lyra, it was just another day in the strangest, most exciting adventure of their lives. Quantum harmonic convergence. As Jack, Zara, and Lyra ventured out of the K system, they were greeted by a world transformed. The barren landscape they had crash-landed on was now a kaleidoscope of impossible colors and shifting geometries. Reality seemed to bend and flex with each step they took. "Okay," Jack said, trying to keep his balance as the ground beneath him rippled like water. "I know we're supposed to be fixing this place, but I've got to admit, it's kind of beautiful in a reality is breaking apart sort of way." Zara's silver skin shimmered, reflecting the prismatic sky above. "The quantum fluctuations have intensified. We must act quickly before this pocket of space-time collapses entirely." Lyra growled in agreement, her blue ridges pulsing with energy. "But how do we even begin to stabilize an entire planet?" Jack closed his eyes, focusing on the newfound power coursing through his veins. He could feel the quantum strings of reality vibrating like the strings of a cosmic guitar. Suddenly, an idea struck him. "Harmonic resonance," he muttered, eyes snapping open. "Guys, I think I know what we need to do." Zara and Lyra looked at him expectantly as he continued, excitement building in his voice. "Think about it. Everything in the universe vibrates at a certain frequency, right? What if we could find the fundamental frequency of this planet, the one it was meant to resonate at before we crashed here and messed everything up?" Zara's galaxy eyes widened in understanding. "A quantum harmonic convergence. Jack, that's brilliant." Lyra nodded approvingly. "If we can generate a counter-frequency to cancel out the chaos, we can reset the planet's quantum state," Jack finished, grinning. "Exactly." But their excitement was short-lived. A deafening screech filled the air, and the sky above them tore open like a wound. Through the rift, they could see other realities bleeding through, alien worlds, impossible landscapes, and horrors beyond comprehension. "The dimensional barriers are collapsing," Zara shouted over the cosmic cacophony. "We need to act now." Jack's mind raced. They needed something to amplify their powers, to broadcast the harmonic frequency across the entire planet. His eyes fell on the wreckage of his ship, still visible in the distance. "The hyperdrive," he exclaimed. "If we can repurpose it as a quantum resonator, we might just have a shot at this." They sprinted towards the crash site, reality warping around them with each step. Jack could feel the planet's pain, its very atoms crying out for stability. As they reached the ship, he dove into the engine compartment, his hands moving with superhuman speed as he reconfigured circuits and rerouted power conduits. "Zara, I need you to interface with the ship's computer," Jack called out. "See if you can calculate the planet's original quantum frequency." Lyra took up a defensive position, her body tensed for action. "Whatever's coming through those rifts, I'll hold it off. Just hurry." As Jack worked, he could hear the sounds of battle behind him. Lyra was engaged in combat with creatures that defied description, beings of pure energy, amorphous monstrosities, and things that hurt the mind to look upon directly. Zara's voice cut through the chaos. "I've got it. The planet's resonant frequency. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. It's a song, Jack. The most beautiful song I've ever heard." Jack's hands flew over the makeshift controls. Then let's give this planet its rhythm back. Everyone, channel your energy into the hyperdrive. We're going to play this song so loud the whole universe will hear it. As one, they focused their power. The hyperdrive began to hum, then vibrate, then sing. A pure, crystalline note rang out, cutting through the dimensional static. Jack felt the quantum strings of reality respond, harmonizing with their cosmic melody. The effect was immediate and awe-inspiring. Rifts in the sky began to close, the chaotic landscape started to stabilize, and the very air seemed to sigh with relief. But it wasn't enough, they needed more power. "It's working," Zora shouted, her voice strained with effort. "But the planet's too far gone. We can't generate enough energy." Jack gritted his teeth, pushing himself to the limit. Then he had an epiphany. The architects, they said we were conduits. What if we're not just channeling our own energy, but the energy of the entire cosmos? Understanding dawned in Zora's eyes. Of course, we're not just three beings, we're connected to everything. With renewed determination, they reached out with their minds, tapping into the vast web of cosmic energy that connected all of reality. Power beyond imagining flowed through them into the makeshift quantum resonator. The song of the planet grew louder, more insistent. Jack could feel it in his bones, in the very atoms of his being. It was a song of balance, of harmony, of the fundamental rhythms that underpinned all of existence. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath for a moment. Then, with a flash of light that outshone suns, everything snapped back into place. The chaos subsided, the rifts closed, and the planet settled into its proper quantum state. As the light faded, Jack, Zora, and Lyra found themselves standing on a world transformed. Not the barren rock they had crashed on, but a vibrant, living planet teeming with impossible life and untold wonders. We did it," Jack breathed, barely able to believe his eyes. Zora laughed, a sound like tinkling crystals. "No, Jack, we did more than that. We didn't just fix this world, we evolved it. We've created something entirely new." Lyra nodded, a rare smile on her face. A perfect fusion of what was and what could be, a testament to the power of cooperation across species and realities. As they stood there, marveling at their creation, a familiar presence made itself known. The architect materialized before them, its form more solid and defined than before. "Congratulations," it said, its voice resonating with newfound respect. "You have exceeded our wildest expectations. You haven't just passed the test, you've rewritten the rules of the game itself." Jack stepped forward, standing tall despite his exhaustion. "So what happens now? Do we get to join your cosmic club?" The architect's form shimmered with what might have been amusement. "Oh, Jack Hawthorne, you and your companions have proven yourselves to be so much more than mere players. You are the new architects now, shapers of realities yet to come." As the implications of those words sank in, Jack exchanged looks with Zora and Lyra. They had started this journey as strangers, a human mechanic and two alien fugitives. Now they stood united as guardians of the cosmic balance, with the power to reshape entire universes at their fingertips. "Well," Jack said, a mischievous grin spreading across his face, "I guess it's time to see what this baby can really do. Who's up for a little multiversal redecorating?" As they stepped into their new roles, ready to explore the infinite possibilities that lay before them, one thing was certain: the cosmos would never be the same again. And somewhere, in the grand tapestry of reality, the story of a lucky mechanic and his incredible journey was being etched into the very fabric of existence itself. Cosmic Architects and the Multiversal Nexus. As newly minted cosmic architects, Jack, Zara, and Lyra found themselves at the heart of the Multiversal Nexus, a breathtaking construct that defied description. Streams of reality flowed around them like rivers of light, each one a window into a different universe. "Well," Jack said, trying to sound nonchalant despite the awe overwhelming him, "this is a step up from my old garage." Zara laughed, her silver skin now shimmering with constellations. "Indeed, We stand at the crossroads of all realities, Jack. The possibilities are truly infinite. Lyra, ever practical, was already examining the intricate machinery of the Nexus. We have power beyond imagining, but we must learn to wield it responsibly. As they explored their new domain, they discovered the true scope of their abilities. With a mere thought, they could create or destroy entire galaxies, rewrite the laws of physics, or spawn new forms of life. Okay, Jack said, after accidentally creating a universe where pizza grew on trees, we definitely need a user manual for this stuff. But their wonderment was short-lived. An alarm blared through the Nexus, and a holographic display materialized before them, showing a universe in crisis. Quantum cascade failure in Universe X2991, an automated voice announced. Total reality collapse imminent. Zora's eyes widened in horror. Billions of lives, countless civilizations, they'll all be wiped from existence. Jack set his jaw, determination filling him. Not on our watch. Time to earn our cosmic paychecks, team. They focused their combined power, opening a portal to the threatened universe. What they saw took their breath away, a reality literally tearing itself apart. Planets crumbled, stars imploded, and the very fabric of space-time was unraveling like a cheap sweater. The dimensional frequency is out of sync, Lyra observed, her enhanced senses taking in the catastrophe. If we don't stabilize it soon, the damage will be irreversible. Jack's mind raced, drawing on both his mechanical expertise and newfound cosmic knowledge. We need to find the epicenter of the cascade and reverse the polarity of the quantum flux. Zora nodded, her form already shifting as she prepared to dive into the chaotic maelstrom. I'll locate the source. Lyra, can you contain the spread? Lyra grunted in affirmation, her blue ridges glowing with power as she created a barrier around the failing universe. Jack took a deep breath, knowing what he had to do. I'll go in and make the adjustments. It's going to be bumpy, so hold onto your quantum particles. He plunged into the collapsing reality, his human form barely containing the cosmic energies surging through him. Time and space bent around him as he navigated the quantum currents, searching for the source of the disturbance. Finally, he found it, a swirling vortex of pure chaos at the heart of the universe. Jack reached out, his hands glowing with power as he began to manipulate the fundamental forces holding reality together. Come on, he muttered, sweat beading on his brow as he worked. Daddy needs a stable quantum matrix. The universe shuddered, reality itself groaning in protest. For a moment, it seemed like all was lost. Then, with a sound like a trillion violin strings being plucked simultaneously, everything snapped back into place. Jack found himself back in the Nexus, gasping for breath. Zora and Lyra rushed to his side, their faces etched with concern and relief. You did it, Zora exclaimed, her galaxy eyes shining with pride. Universe X2991 is stabilizing. Billions of lives saved. Lyra clapped him on the back, nearly knocking him over. Not bad for a former grease monkey. As the adrenaline wore off, the enormity of what they just accomplished hit Jack. They had saved an entire universe from annihilation, and this was just the beginning of their tenure as cosmic architects. So, he said, a grin spreading across his face, what's next on the agenda? Redesigning black holes. Teaching quantum physics to space dolphins. Oh, I've got it. Let's make a universe where everything is made of cheese. Zora and Lyra exchanged amused glances. Jack's irreverent humor, it seemed, would be a constant even in the face of cosmic responsibility. But their light moment was interrupted by another alarm. This time, the holographic display showed something that made their blood run cold, a massive, shadowy entity moving between universes, leaving destruction in its wake. By the eternal void, Zora whispered, her voice filled with dread. It's the Null Devourer, a being of anti-creation that consumes entire realities. Lyra's expression hardened. I've heard legends, but I never thought they were true. This creature, It's the antithesis of everything we stand for as architects. Jack stared at the display, watching as whole universes winked out of existence in the Null Devourer's wake. He knew they were facing a threat unlike anything they'd encountered before, but as he looked at his companions, Zara with her infinite wisdom, Lyra with her unyielding strength, he felt a surge of determination. "Well," he said, cracking his knuckles, "I guess it's time for some cosmic pest control. Who's up for saving the entire multiverse?" As they prepared to face this ultimate threat, Jack couldn't help but marvel at the journey that had brought him here. From a down-on-his-luck mechanic to a guardian of all reality, with the fate of countless universes resting on his shoulders. One thing was certain, the multiverse was in for one hell of a ride, and Jack Hawthorne, the human who defied the odds, was ready to show this Null Devourer what happened when you messed with his new cosmic family. The battle for all of existence was about to begin, and the unlikely trio of architects were the multiverse's last best hope. It was time to rewrite the laws of reality itself, and maybe, just maybe, create a legacy that would echo across eternity.